Good morning. Gonna get started here. Like always, Sunday morning, gonna do a live stream. And I don't do these live streams for any other reason than I just enjoy doing them. I'm just trying to get some good information out there for you. If you haven't seen my channel before, all my channel is about is my McLean, low mowing, and most importantly, just trying to get some really good, solid, fact-based evidence to provide for you to tell you what you might be hearing is right and wrong, and those sorts of things. I've been doing a tinfoil turf grass, the episodes that are done by Dr. Travis Shaddix. He's a soil scientist, and I ran into him online. He just popped up on my YouTube feed, and I got interested because at the time that I started seeing his videos, I was really trying to understand what I really needed to do for my lawn. Right here, this is my yard, and this is all I wanted was a nice, great looking yard, and I didn't want all the BS that was coming along with it as far as what I was being told to do, what I was told not to do, all those sorts of things. So I started learning, and I really enjoyed his information because it's so technical, it's so deep and technical. And I spent a lot of time in my truck driving to and from the area I work in, and I just have it playing and I'll listen to it. And his shows can be really long and really in detail, but I enjoyed learning the information. I mean, I really wanted to go to school and learn about growing turf grass, all that sort of stuff to really understand it. I have a really small yard. It's kind of stupid, but whatever. So I have a little episode I'm going to do, and I just wanted to follow up on some of the things that we've already kind of gone over and talked about as far as, what's real, what's not real. I've done a couple of tinfoil turf grass episodes already on a couple of different guys. And like I said, I'm not showing these videos to dog on any of these YouTube channels and their information. I'm trying to show what some of the information is that's getting put out to you. And is it correct? Is it not correct? Those sorts of things. So we learned about gypsum. Gypsum is not something you add to your soil to lower the pH. There's a whole big reason why. It's about sulfate. It's about the oxidation of, I believe it was the oxygen molecules. I don't remember all this stuff. I'm not, big smart guy or anything like that. I'm just a guy that has a house, I have a lawn, and I work. I work 5 days a week, so I don't have a lot of time to spend in my yard. In fact, I worked so many hours last week and the week before that I didn't even mow last week. First time I mowed was yesterday. My yard went a whole week. I mean, I have a putting green. I cut that at, about 2-3 millimeters. I'm going to talk about that a little bit in this episode too, because, I have some issues, and I think I finally figured out what the issue is. And then I have my front yard here. And this is bent grass. This is Kentucky bluegrass up here on top. This is the bent grass down here, the putting green. You can see the hole right over there. And I cut it at 1/4 inch. So if I don't mow at least twice a week, it grows out of control. So it really hurts me to not get out there and mow. But my point is that I don't have a lot of time to put into doing videos and doing all these sorts of things. I do the Sunday Live thing just because I enjoy doing it. And I just want to provide some good content and information for people, because I just want to help people learn. Because I have a scene that we're going to do here on the types of fertilizers I use, and I'm not promoting any fertilizers. I'm not telling you what to do. You do what you feel you need to do in your yard. If you feel you need to use 14 different products to make your yard look great, that's great. Buy those products. They're out there for you to use. If you believe in that, you believe in that. I don't have a problem with that. I don't use those things. On top of that, I have a couple of slides about some progress, some products I'm using on my yard to take care of some weeds and things like that. And like I said, I'm not promoting any products. I'm just trying to show how some of these products worked, what they're doing in the lawn, and if you should, if you want to use them or not. Just trying to provide you information on it. What else do I got? I'm thinking about doing something that I haven't even tried. I haven't even tested it. But I'm thinking about just going out and doing a live walk in my lawn, because I have a progression of some things I've done over the last 8 days, and I wanted to show you an actual real-time view of it. And then I have an update regarding pH testing at home. I have some facts, accurate information regarding that. I want to show you how accurate my soil test pH testing method is. I have the backup information, evidence to show you, hey, I'm not just telling you something and it's just some garbage test. So I'm going to show you a little bit of that today. I have a project going on in the backyard. I have an update on as well. So I just have so much stuff loaded up in my, OBS here. I think I might as well just get started. So I think I'm going to start with the soil testing. Let's see here. Kind of buried it. There it is. So I did soil testing, and I don't do soil testing for any other reason than I don't even believe in soil testing. I'm actually doing this here as a comparison, and I'm not even going to show you the full results here. I'm just going to show you the pH results, because I want you to just see the accuracy here of my home soil pH testing method. And I've explained in previous episodes, I'll just briefly go over it again, why I feel pH testing is so important. pH testing to me is really important because I live in Western Washington. Moss is a big issue, and one of the key things to kind of help keep down on moss or prevent moss from growing is pH. On top of that, iron. So between the pH of your soil and iron, that's how I try to keep moss from my yard. When I first moved to Western Washington back in, I think it was 2005, I moved from California and I didn't even know about moss. I had never had that problem. And I got up here, and year after year, I would have a moss problem. And it's taken me 17 years to figure out how to deal with the moss, after ripping my yard out year after year after year and putting new grass in, new everything, trying to just get rid of it. So pH. I did my soil testing last week, and I think I had my samples crossed up. I'm not sure. So this soil test right here is the Malic 3 testing. I get it from Soil Kit 365, soilkit.com. You could buy the actual test at Site 1. That's where I got this. And so last week when I did my live testing, I think it was last week, I said my backyard soil pH was 6.7. Well, I got my Malic 3 test from Soil Kit, and it came in at 6.1, as you can see right here on the screen. And I was like confused. I was like, 6.1? I thought it was 6.7. I was like, what's going on? So I still have the dirt sample from the pull that I did from both of the soil tests I did. And yesterday I went and I did this test, and as you can see here, I have my pH meter up here in the top, right-hand corner, and it shows you 6.13. I don't know that you can see it that great, but that's what it says, 6.13. And for me, I was just trying to verify that my process is correct, because I was concerned that I thought it was 6.7. So after testing that same soil that I sent to soilkit.com, it came in at exactly 6.1. You should be able to see it right here on the screen. 6.13. I mean, if that's not dead on, I don't know what is. So I just wanted to tell you that, the soil testing pH method that I've been showing you is very accurate. And that's all I'm really trying to show here. I'm not going to go over my results yet. And the only reason why is the only reason I did this was because I bought this soilkit.com test, and I also bought a My Soil Kit test. I've done this before on my front yard, so now I'm just doing it on my backyard, just because my backyard, I don't know what's going on back there. I've done a test before a long time ago, because that was back when I believed in what I was hearing on YouTube, that soil tests were really important. Now I know soil tests aren't even important. If you have a bona fide reason to get a soil test because you think you have a deficiency in something, you should. But if your grass is looking good and you verified that you've got good light, good water, good temperature, no disease, sorry, then you're doing everything you need to do. And your last measure, if you have a problem in your yard, is a soil test, because maybe you do have some sort of deficiency. So that's the only reason I do a soil test. I actually don't do them for any other reason right now than to show the comparison between a Malic 3 test and the ion resin exchange, I think it's called, the My Soil test. It's a test where you get this little cup that has this little resin pouch in it, and the cup's got like water or deionized water. I don't know what kind of water it is, but it's got a liquid in there. And you basically take a scoop of your soil from different areas and you dump it into the solution, and you close the lid, you send it off to the lab, and they test that. There is no accuracy to this test at all, and I'm just wanting to do a comparison here once again, because the last comparison I did, the numbers were so different. Malic 3 is a really dependable test to do, and that's why I do it, and that's why I'm trying to show you, if you really need to get a good soil test, do the soilkit.com, or go to your local county extension, university extension. Check Google on your county's information on soil testing. Maybe they do it for free for you. They do it here in King County for free, but what I found out is they don't do it for every city, because each city has to be a participant in it. My city is not, I found out, because I was going to send a soil sample to a third lab, and I was going to have 3 different samples for you. So that didn't happen, because they don't do it for my city. And you can only drop off between Monday through Friday, and I work, so I can't go up there and drop it off Monday through Friday between 8 and 5. So no big deal. I'm just going to do the My Soil and soilkit.com, which is the Malic 3 testing. So anyways, that's enough of that. I'm going to show you something else here. I'm just going to click over to this, and this here is kind of a progression. This is my yard back in winter. Now this is late February, and it was kind of what my yard was looking like and where I started this year. I had a lot of plans for my backyard this year, and I've gone through a lot of progressions on it. I've showed some videos on, the work that I've done back there, and, some of the test projects I have going on. And, for me, everything I do in my yard is a test at this point. My front yard, that's been a test project, because I was told not to put a putting green in, because I was watching YouTube and I was looking it up, and everybody said it was difficult. Glad I didn't listen to that, because I love my putting green. I'm not really much of a golfer, but I do putt on it. My neighbor likes it. He likes to come over and putt on it. And it looks really good. I really like the look of it, And then the Kentucky bluegrass that I have up there that I cut it 1/4 of an inch, it looks really good. So I wanted to get my backyard looking great. I had some trees back there I didn't really care about, and I didn't enjoy. I thought I would, but I didn't. So my backyard, it wasn't the greatest looking. I didn't put much attention to it. I was putting all my attention in the front yard. So here I'm just kind of mowing, and I'm just showing you the mow just because it's just going to show you how it looks after the mow. So this is getting into later March right here. And this is what it looked like a couple of weeks ago. And man, that looks great. I really feel like I did a great job working on this and getting this done. This is after I did an iron application, and I had done all my reseeding and everything like that. Everything was going great, looking great. I was really enjoying things. So what did I do? I came through and I wanted to spray it for weeds because I was spraying my front yard. So I'll get to the next slide here, and I sprayed it with Tenacity. And this is my red creeping fescue right here. And you can see this is a comparison. Let me get out of the way here. So this is a couple of day difference. And you can see these little patches. Looks kind of like a little sad face, the two eyes pointing down with a little mouth down there. That wasn't meant, but this is just 4 days, 5 days after I applied Tenacity. And, this is like 6 days. And, the Tenacity worked really quick. And as you can see, the Tenacity did some bleaching, because this is my red creeping fescue. And, that's what it does. Not only does it bleach out the weeds, but it bleaches out the fine fescue. And on the Tenacity label, it says it can harm fine fescue. And that's what red creeping fescue is. It's fescue. So this is that area where the trees were that I'd replaced stuff. And you can see way over there, that's my Bermuda project going on. I'm going to talk about that too. But look at this. I have this patch here that looks like dollar spot, or maybe some brown patch. I don't know. So that started happening. And I've been kind of having problems with the red creeping fescue right here since I planted it and it got hot. Last week, our temperatures were up in the 90s, and that's not what happens in Western Washington that much. 90s is really, really hot. I don't think this red creeping fescue likes the heat, and this is kind of the area of my yard that gets the most sun. It's right next to that Bermuda patch right up there in the corner, which the reason why I put that Bermuda there was because it's my hottest, brightest area of my backyard. So then you come over here, and this is where I had a tree over here too, down here in the bottom, but I got the same thing going on. And when I first saw this is the area of my yard that the sprinkler coverage wasn't that great. And on top of everything, I have a lot of things going on back here. I thought it could be just water, lack of water, because I had turned my sprinklers watering timer down because it had gotten really cool. And then it got hot and I never turned it back up, and I thought it was just dying. But then the rest of this here I'm showing you is I have red creeping fescue mixed in with my bluegrass here. And let me get out of the way again. And this is just kind of the progression. On the right, that was a couple of days after I first laid it, and then on the left, it was, basically a week later. And then this here is yesterday, Saturday. So this is about 8 days. And this is what it's been looking like. So my backyard went from looking really great. I believe a lot of it has to do with Tenacity. And this is what I want to do anyways. I want to get the red creeping fescue out of my bluegrass area. I need to redo this patch right down here because this is looking terrible. So the video is just repeating now, but that's, what I'm working on in my backyard. Like I said, everything I do is a test. Grass is super simple to grow. I mean, if this ruins my backyard, it ruins my backyard, but I want to show the progression of what happens to the fescue over time to see how well it recovers. Is it going to recover? Is it not going to recover? I've seen it recover in some other tests that I've done in some pots that I had some fescue in. So, and you could totally see how I sprayed it. I just took the sprayer and I just did a little swath right over the top of it. That was all I did. And it's definitely killing the weeds, and it's definitely bleaching the grass. I did spray some propiconazole down because I felt like after heavily watering these brown patches, I realized it's probably not a water issue. It's probably dollar spot or brown spot. So I put some propiconazole down, or propiconazole, however you want to say it. And we'll see how that looks after a couple of weeks. So we'll follow that. So this is my front yard. We're going to go back to that side. This is back at the same time, my backyard. This is like a late February. And it's just me mowing. You know, we had, it wasn't a terrible winter, but it was really cold from mid-January through February. And I don't really do anything to my lawn. I'm not one of those guys like trying to be hardcore and saying, oh, I got the best lawn and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I could keep my lawn going all year round. You know, part of it is I don't even have time to put into my lawn. And that's why it suffers from time to time, because I don't have time to put into it. But I do want to show you that, you know, taking care of your lawn and having a nice lawn is something that's very attainable for you. And so now we're getting into March here, and, you know, the grass is starting to come back, you know, from the winter. I had done some repair patching, and the patches didn't really match. You'll see there's like some polka dots going on in here. And, you know, I have the like nursery area of my yard where I pull plugs from. It's on my side yard where I park my van. And, you know, when I did those plugs, because I had killed a bunch of bent grass that was in my bluegrass, and I used tenacity to do that. I'm going to show you, because that's what I did again just last week. This was the main reason why I had the tenacity, and I had it mixed up in my sprayer, and I did the crazy thing of going from my front yard to my backyard with it. I was just trying to, you know, kill bent grass in my Kentucky bluegrass in my front yard, and I had extra, and that's why I sprayed it in my backyard. So, you know, my putting green, it was looking great. And, you know, this is, you know, getting into May, because I have my side yard, my retaining wall project over there kind of going. So this is what it looked like before I started tearing it all up and doing the sanding and all that kind of stuff. So that was the drone landing. So here we go. Here is the tenacity application. So I'm going to get out of the way here. So you see the brown edges here around my putting green. You know, I'm trying to stop the bent grass from growing into my bluegrass. I'm trying to define, and then look here. Okay, so that, let me go back just a little bit, because I want to talk about that just real quick. All right. So I replaced the bed knife on my McLean because I took a rock up and my original one got ruined. And I had sanded my putting green, and I'm impatient about everything, and I started mowing it low too soon. And this is what happened. I felt like I was just hitting it too early. Pushing down too hard, because this area of my putting green right here, it's right on the edge. And usually when I'm turning my mower in that area, I'm like stepping down in my flower bed that's off to the side here. It's back down here. And I end up pushing down on the mower and kind of gouging it into the ground a little bit too much. And that's what I felt like I was doing. And then this started happening, and you know what? I just said, I'm just going to mow over this thing. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep mowing. I don't care. I want to figure out what's going on here. And I did all this damage here. And I'm now starting to replace it with some plugs and stuff like that. But I've already decided come September, I'm taking this area of my putting green out. I've had more problems with this area of my putting green, and I'm just going to go back to Kentucky bluegrass. I'm going to give me a turnaround spot for my mower when I'm mowing the putting green, because I don't have that here. This goes all the way to the edge of my flower bed right down here, and it's just getting ruined. But what I did figure out is my new bed knife is either thicker or it's oriented a little bit lower. I'm not quite sure. I haven't really looked into it. I'm going to look into it today a little bit more, because yesterday I cut it at a higher cut, and oh, it looked great. Every part of the putting green was great, because I was even having problems on some other areas of my putting green where it was cutting too low. And I finally figured out that maybe if I raise the cut height a little bit, maybe I'll have a little better, outcome. And that's exactly what happened. So I cut it a little higher than normal, but to tell you the truth, it feels like it's cutting at the same level it was before with my old bed knife. So I feel like there's something with the new bed knife that's creating this issue that I'm gouging this area of my putting green. Because the rest of my putting green looks great, but all this area here looks kind of terrible. So I'll just go ahead and continue on. But look at all this tenacity bleaching I'm doing right here. This is actually killing the bent grass. And this is 4 days after I sprayed. This was like Tuesday, and I sprayed Friday morning. And this is the following Tuesday. And then all in here in my little side area here by my chimney on the side part of my house, which I don't really take care of that much, it has a lot of bent grass. And what happens is because I work and I can't mow as often as I want, sometimes my putting green is a little too long, and when I mow it, there's grass buildup, because I don't use a grass catcher. I only don't use a grass catcher because, you know what, I don't want to get rid of it. I don't want to have to put it in bags and take it to the yard recycle place. I don't want to do any of that kind of stuff. So I just don't bag it. That's the only reason why I don't bag. I'm a crazy person, but I'm not this crazy person that feels like you have to put your lawn clippings back into your lawn. I just don't do it. So because of that, I get build up. I get clumps, and not clumps necessarily, but the real mower kicks all the grass to the right. So you get this strip of grass, like a grass clipping line, when it's cut too long. So I take my blower and I blow all the clippings off to the side, and they end up in the Kentucky bluegrass, and they end up in the flower bed and all that stuff. And that's why my flower beds have so much bluegrass growing in it. So that's all bent grass in my Kentucky bluegrass right there. And this is kind of one of the big areas where I blow a lot of the clippings to, and it just ends up seeding it. Now, if I was a little more on top of my tenacity applications, I hadn't applied tenacity since like probably March. That was probably the last time I had done any kind of application of any weed killer. And I only used tenacity to kill bent grass. So, this is a couple days later. This is probably 5 days in, maybe 6. I don't know. But you can see it's how quickly it kills the bent grass. And this bent grass is going to die. I might have to do one more application to kind of finish it off. But the bent grass is going to die. So this is kind of how my yard used to look. This is just kind of going back in progression. And there's some bent grass, just kind of a close-up. And then I believe I have some close-ups of some weeds here. There's some more bent grass kind of dying there. So that's my tenacity story for right now. There's a terrible picture, but it's just kind of giving you a good indication of how well the tenacity works. Now this is like a clover weed down here. I don't know what it's called. I'm not a weed expert. I don't even really care. I just know it's a weed. So I'm spraying it. Ultimately, in my backyard, I should have sprayed some Speed Zone or some different kind of weed killer, because that's a nice close-up of my Kentucky bluegrass there. But I didn't. I sprayed the Tenacity, so now I have that, going on in the backyard. Plus, I have the brown patch dollar spot. I believe I have dollar spot back there, and I just started cutting my lawn in my backyard really short to 1/4 of an inch. I'm mowing it the same height as my front yard because I wanted to real mow it. And the backyard is not really being very accepting to it because it's been hot. And the fescue that I have back there, the red creeping fescue, fine fescue, I don't think it likes it at all. But I'm going to force it to do it. And you know what? If it doesn't like it, it can die. I don't really care. I could do something else in some of those areas. My biggest thing with the red creeping fescue was to take care of the shaded area in my backyard, because that was really driving me crazy. I just was having a really hard time getting seed to germinate back there. And that's another reason why I wanted to do a soil test. I wanted to see what was going on back there, see if I have some deficiency or something going on back there that's preventing me from getting some seed to germinate. Because I still have a patch that's in my area of my yard that gets absolutely zero sun. And I kind of think that it's getting too much water. So I'm planning on changing my sprinklers up in my backyard a little bit to try to take care of that and maybe get some grass to grow there. So anyways, that is that. I'm going to move on to my Bermuda grass here. So this, I bought 100 plugs because I showed you before I was having problems with, I sprayed some glyphosate back here to kill some weeds and I killed some of my Bermuda grass. But look at how this is just taking off right here. This right here is definitely my sunniest spot. You can see as the sun goes through the whole day, this area gets a lot of sun. And it's looking really good. I actually mowed the whole patch back here, which is kind of scary because, man, this soil has lots of little rocks and stuff in it. I live right by the Sound, and this whole area way back thousands of years ago or whatever it was, used to be underwater. And there's just a lot of rocks in our soil. So I'm going to put some top soil over the top of this and try to cover over that rock patch and get some rolled in there. That's why I mowed it. And I want to try to get those rocks out because, man, I know I caught a couple of rocks yesterday when I was mowing. I mowed it at 1/4 of an inch. And because it's, grass in some areas and then it's not in others, yeah, it was really risky running my reel mower through there. So I just put these 100 plugs and I just spread them out all over everywhere. They look terrible, but they're coming back really good. I mean, it's been a week now and the new plugs are actually greening up and starting to grow pretty good. So I'm expecting them to take off for the next month or so. I don't know that I'm going to get this area filled in by the end of the season. I have a feeling this area is going to go dormant in October and it'll be done. I'm just right now trying to keep it clean and weed free. And I want to try to get some topsoil over the top of it to kind of protect my mower when I mow it and give it a chance to start growing. So that's my Bermuda project. Yeah, that's Bermuda grass in Western Washington, right there growing. I'm probably only going to get 5 months out of a year of actual growing season for it. This didn't come out of dormancy when I planted it till like late April. It's finally started growing, and in October it's probably going to go away. So 5-6 months, whatever. Anyways, I've always wanted to have some Bermuda grass, and I'm just doing this to do it. Like I said, I can do anything. If this doesn't work, I can add some Kentucky bluegrass. I can do whatever. No big deal. So, and you also see down here, I have this edging. I'm trying to keep the bluegrass and the Bermuda grass separated right here. So I take my edger and I edge both sides. I have a little planter bed divider deal down there in the ground, and I try to cut a 1-inch gap between the two every week to keep them, because the bluegrass grows over into it just as much as the Bermuda grass grows over. So I'm just trying to keep it maintained that way for right now. Hey, we'll see how it goes. It's the first year. I'm going to try to do this for 2 seasons, and at the end of next year, I'll see where it sits, and move on from there. Let me before I get this next one going, I gotta turn something on here. And let me get this dialed in. Really, you're not going to cooperate. There we go. Okay, I got that set up. So, yep, that's not the right screen. Hold on. This was the screen I wanted. Okay. So, I didn't fix this. Let me fix this really quick. So I just wanted to give you a look at, these are the 2 fertilizers I use. This is it. And I wanted to show you, I have the receipts right here because I just replenished. I'm using the 4600 urea. This is Simplot. I think the other bag I had was something else, but I got it at the same place. I got it at Coastal. And I actually got the last bag. I saw that they had it, and I went down there, I grabbed one, and when I got there, it was the last bag. $35 for 50 pounds of urea nitrogen. That bag, if I don't share it with all my neighbors, will last me easily 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. I'm not sure yet, but the big thing about that is I have to keep it sealed, because the urea the nitrogen will, what's that called? It's not a burn off, but it will oxidize and basically lose its potency. And I might have lost some out of my last bag. That's why I went out and grabbed a new one. I'm not actually out. I have just a little bit left, not much. But I've been fertilizing my neighbors' yards, and I've been giving my son some of this stuff. And I only use about 3 pounds for 3,000 square feet, because what that ends up being is a little less than 0.5 pound per 1,000. And I actually don't even normally do it that much. I do it a little less because I do apply nitrogen once a month. So yesterday I actually applied the 0.5 pound rate to all my yards, my front yard, my backyard, my putting green. And then I also have been trying to get rid of my extreme green. I'm almost out of that. I've had that bag for 2 years. My replacement for the extreme green is this ferrous sulfate heptahydrate. And if you can see down here on this is a Site 1 receipt. It was $27 for a 50-pound bag. And let's see. I don't know if I can get this to zoom in or not. So we'll just do this. So this is just sulfur and iron. And it's a water-soluble iron. It's a iron sulfate heptahydrate. And we've been talking about iron a lot. And we're going to talk about iron again today in my tinfoil turf grass episode I have. And then I'm going to stop talking about it because I'm sure everybody's tired of hearing about iron. But iron is the most complicated fertilizer in its application, and it's the most poorly explained nutrient that you put in your lawn. And what we're going to talk about and finish up this series, kind of, we'll call it a series, but end up my talk on iron, is there is no granular iron that you could apply to your lawn that you're going to get an effect from iron. Okay. Now, this iron right here, ferrous sulfate, heptahydrate that I have, you saw it had sulfur, and it has 11% sulfur and 20% iron. So the reason why this works so good in greening up my lawn right away is because it's applied as a liquid, and it is water soluble. It is basically meant to be mixed in water and sprayed on your lawn, and it instantly gives you green results. It's like if you're having a party or something like that and you want to have some nice good green results, put this kind of fertilizer in liquid form only, any iron product. Okay, we've been talking a lot about chelated iron and stuff like that, and it doesn't matter how much chelated iron you use or how chelated it is or even what it's chelated with. Generally speaking, you are not going to see a response from iron. You're going to see a response from something else. And when we've talked about ironite, because it's the big thing that a lot of people talk about putting on their lawn, and they say, oh man, my lawn turned green. And ironite has sulfur, and it's like 33%. I was just looking at a bag the other day. It has 33% sulfur, which will green your lawn. It has nitrogen, which will green your lawn. And I don't know if it had manganese or not, but manganese will green your lawn too. The iron in it is derived from, I think it's magma rock or something like that. And that absolutely will not provide any kind of soil solubility, iron solubility in your soil. Zero. As soon as you apply that ironite to your lawn, the ironite will oxidize out within an hour, and it won't do anything for your lawn as far as greening goes. Something else in the ironite will make your lawn green probably within 24 hours, and it's going to be the sulfur and maybe the nitrogen. Those are the two things that are greening your lawn. And the reason why I talk about iron all the time is because there are so many products out there that talk about greening your lawn and iron and chelated iron. And like I say, it doesn't matter what kind of chelated granular iron you're putting on your lawn, it is not doing your lawn any good. Even if it's chelated with EDTA or EDHA, EDTA, DPTA or something like that. I don't even know them all. I don't really care because I don't apply any granular. And that's the biggest thing I'm trying to get across is granular iron. It's not going to help you. They're going to talk about it in this tinfoil turf grass that I got coming up. You apply liquid iron, total different story, total different ball game. You can apply any liquid iron to your lawn with any kind of chelation. It doesn't matter. Iron, what is it called? Iron citrate. There's a couple of key ones. Iron citrate's not even really a chelating material, but anyways, any liquid iron will instantly green your lawn. It's going to get on, it's going to be foliar applied, you're going to spray it on, it's going to attach to the blade, it's going to get absorbed into the blade, and the only immediate response you get from it generally is the oxidation of some of the iron, because some of the iron is going to oxidate as soon as you apply it, and it's going to stain, just like it stains your concrete when you spray liquid iron. And that's where chelated irons come into play, like iron citrate and stuff like that, because some of these chelating products will lessen the staining ability when I show you pictures or videos of my yard, I have a water meter. You can see on my water meter, I always spray over it. It's a brand new cover they put on it. I don't know. I think they put in a new meter, or, you know, whatever. Anyways, it was brand new. It should look like concrete, and it doesn't. It looks like a red rusted, you know, piece of concrete. So it's stained because I use the iron heptahydrate, and you know, I don't really care about staining. I actually was rinsing out my sprayer, and I had like no real amount of iron. I had just the bottom of the barrel, the part that wouldn't get sucked out, and I filled that thing up with water, and I dumped it on my driveway, and it still stained my driveway. I have a stain in my driveway. Maybe if I do my live walk test, maybe I'll get that to work and show you. Anyways, this is what I want to show you. What is that? $70? Not even 70, 60 some dollars. 60 some dollars a year in fertilizer product. Definitely going to last me a year. The iron is going to last me 2 years for sure. My last bag lasted me 2 years, and I've even used that on some other neighbor's yard. I only use a 8 ounces for 2,000 square feet. That's all I really need, and I feel like I get too much greening. My putting green literally turns black in some areas. You could see the oxidation really bad on the parts that are really cut low to the ground. If I'm able to get this live going, I'll be able to show you some of that, because I just sprayed iron yesterday. And anyways, I just wanted to show you this here. This is how much it costs. These are the only two things you need. If you don't want to use urea, I use urea to keep my pH kind of high in my soil. I'm trying to keep mine above 6.5 to 7. You know, maybe yours is high and you want to lower it down. Use ammonium sulfate. You can still get ammonium sulfate at these farm supply stores, Site One, 50-pound bags for a really good price. Those are the only two nitrogen sources I would use. I mix this urea iron in with my urea nitrogen. I mix it in my tank sprayer with the iron. I spray iron and nitrogen together. I basically melt it down with some hot water. I'll let it sit, the nitrogen. I'll let it sit in a bucket. I put it in a 5-gallon bucket with about a gallon of water. I measure it out. I let it sit in there for about 10, 15 minutes. And then I mix it with my paint mixer and my drill gun. And then I add my iron, because that iron, it immediately dissolves in water. It doesn't need any sitting time at all. So once I get all the urea mixed up, and I can see that it's mixed up well, because these are really big drills, you know, they're not small, they're big. You could apply them directly in a longer lawn, but my lawn is so short that if I apply this as a granular to my yard, because the drills are so big, it does polka dotting. I have dark green spots in my yard. It looks like my yard has the chicken pox or something from the nitrogen. So I have to liquid apply it to my yard. I can't. I've tried to do it, and that was what happened. Even on my putting green looked really funny for a couple of weeks because I did that. But you know, everything I do is a test. I've really stopped listening to a lot of people. The only people I really listen to anymore is Travis Shaddix, you know, doctor in soil science. You know, he's got a doctorate in soil science. He knows what he's talking about. And on top of that, a lot of his studies have geared around iron. And that's one of the biggest things I'm trying to figure out, is how to use iron and nitrogen together, you know, all year long, and not apply any of these other things. You know, we've talked about them, the humics, the seaweeds, phosphorus. I don't even want to talk about it. I talk about phosphorus so much. Don't apply phosphorus to your lawn. Just don't. Unless you have an absolute reason to apply it, like you're deficient and you have a soil test that says you're deficient and your grass is suffering from that deficiency. Same thing with potassium. I've talked about this And what's funny is I keep talking about, I watch a lot of YouTube lawn care guys, and just real quick, I'm going to move on, but these YouTube guys that use potassium and phosphorus in their fertilizers constantly are getting disease problems over and over and over again. And I've tried to explain to everybody that potassium probably does more harm to your lawn than it does good when you're using it. And one of the biggest things that research has shown is that potassium actually will provide a higher likely of disease in your lawn than any kind of protection. The only thing really that, well, I'm not gonna say the only thing, but potassium, a lot of people apply it to prevent heat stress. Stop listening to that nonsense. That's not what potassium does. It doesn't prevent anything. Okay, now, talked about this, and I'm sorry if I'm being too repetitive for you, but we've talked about this in potassium, and that if you use it to prevent heat stress, it's the wrong reason. You only need to have potassium available for the plant to uptake it. You want it soluble in your soil so the plant can uptake it when it needs it, because when your plant goes, your turf grass goes into heat stress, it needs potassium, and it needs potassium to uptake to create this enzyme that's going to help it defend against the heat stress. So applying it doesn't prevent it. Just it being in the soil soluble so the plant can do its thing to take it in and help it create this enzyme, or make more of this enzyme. I forget what the name of it is, and it's not important what the name is. It's the fact that you need an enzyme to help your plant defend against heat stress. That's the only thing potassium is doing for you. And on a side note, the reason why we don't need to use phosphorus is basically because it's being restricted. And that's the only other point I'm trying to get across to people in using less fertilizer is legislators are already regulating fertilizers like crazy. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. And there's going to come a day from everybody listening to all these YouTube channels and lawn care channels telling you to apply potassium, apply phosphorus every month, every 2 months, whatever it is, I don't care. You don't need to. I already know. I'm going to show you in my soil sample. I have so much phosphorus in my backyard. I have never even applied phosphorus in my backyard. And I have so much of it that it's crazy. And if I was listening to YouTube channels telling me I need to apply phosphorus twice a year or every month, like some of them do, oh my God, there'd be so much phosphorus back there. So be responsible. Okay, these YouTube channels are so irresponsible in telling you to use phosphorus the way they tell you to use it, that pretty soon the government, state, local, whatever, is going to come in and start preventing you from even buying it in the store. It's going to have to be only applied by a licensed lawn care person. You're going to have to pay TruGreen to come out to your house to fertilize your lawn at some point once this gets out of hand. And we need to stop this from getting out of hand. These lawn care channels on YouTube, they just need content. They just need views. They just want viewers. They just want you to buy their products. They just need to make money off of you. Some of these guys don't work. Some of these guys are felons, and they're living off of you buying the products that they're sponsoring and they're providing so that they can live, because they can't get a job because they're a felon. And that's only one guy I'm talking about right now, but there could be more. I don't know. These guys don't work. So I'm just asking you to be responsible. Buy the products you need for your lawn. If you feel your lawn needs something more than nitrogen and iron, maybe get a soil test. If you've determined everything else is good, your water's good, your light's good, you didn't have a sprinkler go out, you don't have pests or disease, and you feel you have a soil deficiency, do a test, check it out, see if that's really what's going on. You know, I took a picture of my issues in my backyard. I asked Google AI, I said, hey, what is this? And it told me it was either dollar spot or brown patch. I already kind of thought that, but I just trying to see what Google would say. So, like I said, I first went over it and I watered it to make sure it wasn't a water issue. And once I realized it wasn't really getting better from watering it, that was when I decided I'm going to put some propiconazole on it and deal with it that way. So anyways, I have this tinfoil turf grass. You know, I kind of want to play it. I know I've already gone kind of long on just the few slides I had already. You know, my biggest things I'm trying to get out is just the information. You know, I want to be able to fertilize my lawn. I don't want the irresponsibility of other people, you know, telling their hundreds of thousands of subscribers to apply nutrients that they don't need to be applying. That's kind of all I'm really doing, and I'm trying to get across to people, because I am never going to be able to get a YouTube subscriber to these big YouTube channels to listen to what I have to say. That's never going to happen. I'm only looking to try to get the attention of somebody new coming on YouTube and looking for some lawn care advice. That's the only person that I'm looking to try to get a hold of, because these other people that subscribe to these other lawn care channels and believe in what they're doing, they're gone. They're already supporting that person. They don't care what you say about that person. They don't care what you say about what they're doing. They don't want to listen to the science. Some of these guys are even saying, this is the science. And this is the science. Some of them say, this is the science because look, this is my lawn. Look at how great it looks. Well, look, this is my lawn. You know, look how great it looks. You know, and the one guy is always talking about, I'm just trying to give across positive vibes and all this negativity of people talking bad about what I do. You know what? You're not giving any positive vibes, because you're just lying to people. And through your lying, if you think that's being positive, and you as a viewer think that that's positive, that's great. Follow that advice he's given. Spend the money. Hundreds of dollars you're spending a year on products you don't need to apply. Not going to make any difference. So anyway, sorry, I get off on that tangent because I'm really just thinking about fertilizers being regulated out of being able to be bought. You know, they're already supposed to be regulated in the stores to be selling phosphorus, but they don't do it out here yet. I know at some point it's going to get to that. Maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years, and maybe, 50 years. I don't know. I just know if we don't get it under control now, it's just going to get out of control. And then the problems are just going to increase. And, legislators, the only thing they know to do is raise taxes or ban you from something. Those are the only two things they can think of, seems like. So I'm just kind of stalling here because I'm debating on what direction I wanted to go next. I see I've already been on an hour here. I don't feel like I'm ranting to you guys so much as I'm trying to just get my information across. I really feel it's really important. That's all. And I don't think I have the greatest lawn. I mean, this looks pretty good. I mean, it's got some good stripes. It's nice and green. I mean, even my bent grass, look at how green that bent grass is right there. Bent grass doesn't even get that green. And look at how green that's getting. I mean, that's bent grass cut at like 2-3 millimeters. I mean, when you put on it, it's great. In fact, I could show you because I have that right here. Let's see. No, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Yeah, look at that. Sorry, I always get in the way. this is just a couple of months ago. When I first started getting my green back to, I'm a terrible putter. I mean, as you can see there, out of every 50 putts, I maybe make one. And I put my hole basically up there where I'm standing, which is the uphill. This is on the downhill of my putting green. I know I've showed this video before, and it is what it is. But look at the ball roll. This is just with a McLean. I have a McLean greenskeeper. It cuts really low, really nice. It does a really good job. Let's see here. I can show you right here. There's my McLean right there. It's a great mower. Real mowing. If you want to, for some reason it's not liking the yellow of my, I don't know exactly why that's not coming in on the screen there. Real mowing is a learning curve. It's going to take you a couple of mows if you want to get into real mowing to figure out exactly, that's really weird. I don't know why that looks black. Anyways, what makes this adjustable, micro adjustable, is these adjusters right here. There's one right here and one on the other side. The biggest thing about the McLean and adjusting the cutting height is you have to have some sort of a shim. And I have videos on my channel to show you how to adjust the blade height, but you have to have a shim to check the height underneath the blade. And I use a board that's flat, and I have the mower up on the board, and I use that to make sure that the height is the same on each side of the mower, because you could adjust this thing and it will be uneven, and you'll scalp one side and the other side will be cut higher. It'll cut at an angle. So I mean, maybe you want that, I don't know. I don't, but that's what you can do with this mower. If you don't adjust it properly, it's going to scalp your lawn. It's not going to look even, that sort of thing. So that's how I check my cut height adjustment. I just use a shim. I have two of them, one for my putting green and one for my backyard. And then when I want to raise it all the way up for whatever reason and cut at the 3/4 of an inch or 5/8 of an inch I get right now, I just use both those shims together, and I check each side to make sure it's even. That's how I adjust it. It's very simple to adjust. It takes me less than 5 minutes in between mows. I'll mow the putting green. I'll adjust it to the 1/4 of an inch to mow my Kentucky bluegrass, and it only takes me a couple of minutes. It takes me an hour to mow 3,000 square feet, 3 parts of my lawn. And I mow my putting green 4 ways. I mow it up and down twice and side to side twice. My Kentucky bluegrass, I mow it twice, up and down. And I also, every other week, I'll mow it side to side and up and down, just to kind of give it an even cut and not continually mow the same direction all the time. So I guess I'm just going to go ahead and end that here. I did not do my tinfoil turf grass. I really wanted to. It was a pretty good one with some pretty good information. Maybe I'll just go in here and I'll do that.
The name of this video is Found the Best Iron to Apply to Your Lawn for Summer Color. And we're going to see what Greg Phillips has to say about summer iron on turf grass. Let's see what he has to say.
You can actually be putting out an iron product on your yard and it not do a doggone thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's definitely true. I would say that is in the form, if you're doing it as a granular iron source, that is the case in virtually every form of iron that you could apply in a granular form, unless it's chelated. And when I say chelated, I don't mean complex. I mean chelated with EDTA, DTPA, or EDDHA. And if you choose to do it in a granular form, and you choose to use a chelate, and you want to actually get some return on the money and the investment that you spent, you must.
So on this video right here, that was kind of the biggest thing that I was really wanting to try to point out. He said the chelated products, those are the three main chelated iron products, EDHA, DTPA, or whatever it is, and EDDHA. Yeah, I don't even care, because you shouldn't be using granular, and that's basically the bottom line. So what he's going to say here is, and I'm just going to go briefly over this, is with the one EDTA, it's only going to be effective as a chelating agent to 6 pH. Okay, and he's going to go on in this video, and they're going to talk about pH and a pH chart. That's a bunch of crap and all that kind of stuff. But this is where pH in your soil could become important. Hey, maybe you use ferrous sulfate with EDTA, and you apply it to your lawn, and yeah, you're going to get some results from it as a granular, because up to a soil of 6, that chelated iron is going to do its work probably for a couple of weeks, because your soil pH is below 6. That's the only part where that ferrous sulfate with EDHA or EDTA, that's the only place where it's going to work. Once your soil's above 6, that no longer becomes soluble in your soil, and the iron is actually going to oxidize out within an hour. And he's going to go over some papers and some information on that to show you how that is. With the DDTA, that's going to basically work the same as the EDTA, but it's going to work up to a soil of pH of 7. And then at that point, that's no longer going to work or do anything to your soil, or make your the iron in the soil soluble. It's going to oxidize out, and it's going to oxidize out within an hour. So if you have a pH above 7, then that's not useful. And then the EDDHA, it's just really expensive, and it will work for all soil pHs for a couple of weeks. And it's basically for people who have the high soil pHs, like in the 8s. But once it gets above, I believe it's 9, it's not going to work as well. So that's what he's talking about, and he talks about the expense of doing that. And then this guy here, he's going to do a application of a bunch of different iron at the end of his thing, and it doesn't even work, because he doesn't apply enough. And he shows you why ironate doesn't, or he shows you how ironate doesn't work and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of the biggest things I wanted to show you out of this video here was just the bad information that people get about chelation, or chelated iron. This guy right here, he talks about soil being above 6.5, and that's like the magic number where granular iron is not going to work in your soil, and he's just wrong. You know, I watched this video before I saw this, and when I first saw it come out, because he just put this video out a couple of months, about a month ago, I think it is. So I watched it when he actually put it out, this guy right here, Greg. And I was watching it, and I was like going, man, I'm not even really that knowledgeable on all this stuff, but I know what he's saying right now isn't even accurate, isn't even right. And I was like, God, I hope Travis goes over this. And it was just funny. He just went over it this week on his podcast that he does, or his YouTube show that he does too. So if you really want to learn about stuff, this is the guy. On his YouTube channel, Turfgrass Epistemology, you know, it's about how do we know what we know. And he goes over scientific research papers. He knows a lot of these doctors, these soil scientists and things like this, and he's a soil scientist himself. He's done lots of studies, he's done lots of things. And in fact, this guy talks about a study from the University of Florida that he was gonna reference in this, and Travis thought it was his paper, so he went and he looked at it. He's like, this isn't even a research paper. This is just a document, and it's not even a good document. And he thought that he was referencing his actual research that he did, because he's done a lot of research papers on iron and solubility in soil and things like that. So, anyways, sure, I'll play a little more.
Know the soil pH. A lot of the iron that you put out, it could be completely useless to your lawn. He says it's science-based. I definitely would not go that far, Greg. You might think you're science-based. We're going to see what you have to say. Any iron you apply in a granular form, just assume it's not available. I mean, if it's chelated, then whatever. We'll argue that later. But just assume it's waste. So if you have a whole lot of nails left over from some construction project, just put that in your spreader. It's the same thing as whatever fertilizer you bought for the most part. Agronomically, it's the same value. Foliar iron is a whole other matter. That's totally different. But granular iron is useless.
pH is the engine that drives your soil. I have a pH video. It's from last year. I might do another one. pH is an engine that drives your soil, and this is why. This is a plant availability chart.
It took 1 minute and 50 seconds. Jiminy Christmas. It took 1 minute and 50 seconds for him to get the pH solubility diagram on the screen. Oh, so if any of your consultants or any of even your teachers, if you're a student, anybody, whoever it is, your dad, I don't care who it is, if they pull this out under the context of anything other than they're using it to explain how it's flawed and useless to us, then you know they're a BS artist. They are talking BS. I have 2 episodes dedicated to just this diagram. And it's completely flawed. It's not even remotely in the universe of reality. I wonder who that was. He says, my UMass turfgrass program had 3 soils classes. This chart is foolish. Oh, Dr. Torello lit the diagram on fire and threw it in the wastebasket. Hardamink came out, one of the most cited soil scientists on the planet, came out with a couple of articles that clearly showed this diagram is useless. It's not useful in agriculture.
Okay, those are kind of the key points I was trying to get out on that. I'm just going to go ahead and shut it off at this point. You probably had enough of me for one day. You probably had enough of me after the first 5 minutes, whatever. Anyways, I feel like I had some nice information for you here. Some good information on some fertilizers and some things some products you can get. I mean, these products are generic, you know, they're not anything special. They're not from some lawn care guy's channel, you know, they're not anything amazing, but they're going to do the exact same thing that all these lawn care guys talk about with their liquid fertilizers they're putting on their lawns and how great they are and how they green your lawn instantly. You use these 2 products I showed you today, they're going to do the exact same thing for a fraction of the price. And that's all I'm talking about. I'm not cheap, but you know what? I'm not going to add a bunch of BS to my lawn that I don't need. That's what I do know, because I would rather be spending my money saving up for a new lawnmower or something else. I don't know, a new car, whatever. You know, my family, my kids, buying them a Nintendo or, you know, a new computer or whatever. You know, think about those things. As a new homeowner, you've got lots of better things to be doing in your house and your property than dumping a bunch of fertilizer you don't need. That's my only point here. Anyways, I'll be back in 2 weeks. I'm going to show you the progress of tenacity in my backyard and my bent grass putting green. Show how we're going to work and deal with that. I'm going to start doing some repairs. I do have a project coming up in September with my neighbor. I believe we've decided to do an entire kill off on his yard and start over. I've never done a fall reseeding, so this is going to be my first fall reseeding, and we're going to see how that works out. You know, I'm not any kind of professional when it comes to that kind of stuff, Oh man. Oh yeah, it's my SpaceX launch. It's too bad I didn't get any video of it because it was fogged out. Didn't even see it, but we heard it. We were right next to it. It was great to watch. Of course, brand new was it Allegiant flag supply? It's my new flag, 4x6. Put up in November, or I mean, sorry, for July 4th. So anyways, like I said, I got some projects coming on, some new things coming up. I'll just try to keep you involved with just some good information on things you can do in your yard to make it look great and not spend a lot of money. Okay, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Hey, if you like and subscribe, it helps me. Comments help too. Like I said before, I'm just trying to get this information out to